Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another podcast to talk about our favorite team, the Arizona Cardinals. Huge shout out to the people that are currently in the chat. We got Chef, we got Studio, we got Spider, Freddie, Lorenzo, Michael. What's up, y'all? Appreciate you guys for joining in. Today, we are going to have my guy, Donnie from Sports Illustrated, to talk everything Arizona Cardinals. We are still in preseason, but, of course, we kind of got to get to a gradual of getting to the regular season where we got everything to talk about every single day. But as of right now, we got preseason to talk about. We're going to be chopping it up about, week one and then kind of looking forward into week two. So without further ado, let's go and bring my guy in, Donnie from Sports Illustrated. What's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
Good, man. Good. Yo, to quote you and everybody else in the chat, man. It's bumping. It's a wonderful Wednesday, my brother. How are you?
I'm good, dude. I'm good. I had a
Good.
little bit of an accident here, spilled some water on my
Yeah.
desk, kind of started off a little hectic, but like to me, I'm like, I just got to clean this. I had to clean anyway, so it is what it is. But man, things are good. Obviously football's in the air. We got done with week one. Really, really excited about that heading into week two. Not just week two of preseason, but we got joint practice to hopefully we see some clips here and there to kind of be floating around the internet. So a lot of good things about the Cardinals, and just football's back just in general. So gotta love it. So let's get started here real quick. Let's go ahead and have the audience know who you are. I know you've been on this podcast for a few different times, but want to make sure that you do kind of shout yourself out and kind of where they can find you.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Dollinger, and you can follow their work at si.com/NFL/Cardinals. We also have our own YouTube channel. Just type in Cardinals on SI. Hopefully we pop up. We just passed 2K subscribers, so we got a little bit of motion. Maybe not anything close to the AZ sports fan in terms of the YouTube world, but we're catching up, my man.
No, you got this, man. Honestly, dude, it's fun. The more and more you do it, it's just you fall in love with obviously the content creation and just kind of just following the team. I mean, I know you've been following the team for a very long time and covering them with SI. You did a great job over there. So let's get started. I want to talk about week one here real quick. Kind of big takeaways that you got away from week one. I know obviously the big thing that people mainly want to talk about outside the Arizona Cardinals fandom is the Kyler Murray pick, which we'll dive into a little later on. Was it a no-look throw? Was it? Who knows? But let's dive into it, man. What are your big takeaways here from week one versus the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, I had two big takeaways. Number one, even without Walter Nolan, I think the Cardinals' defensive line and maybe even the front seven in general, they generated a lot of pressure moving into the Chiefs' offensive line. A pretty good Chiefs' offensive line, too. I don't think the Chiefs have like a top 5 unit by any means, but like a pretty damn good unit. And I think even with a mix of starters and maybe the quote-unquote second stringers, the Cardinals were able to not maybe like dominate the trenches, but really show a lot of good push and get after the quarterback from quarters 1 through 4, regardless of who was under center for Kansas City. So that was my big takeaway. Is like even without Walter Nolan in the mix, they still look really good. So that's even more exciting for whatever they do eventually get their first round pick back. The other thing too is the Cardinals offense, despite the Kyler Murray pick, which we can talk about whenever, I thought they moved the ball really well. I thought, granted, it's the first preseason game. There's still a lot of stuff they need to clean up, but that's kind of the point, right? That's kind of the purpose, to shake some of that rust off, because you're only going against your own guys in practice at training camp every day. You're not really going 100% full speed. You're not in a live game setting, and you're not really game planning for anybody in the preseason. So like it's quite an adjustment, quite a jump to go from a camp practice to where you're only in shells and you're only thudding. You're kind of going like 60-70% speed to okay, now we have guys fighting for roster spots on both sides of the ball. It's going to be a little bit different, but granted, all of that being said, I do think the Cardinals offense looked fairly good, both running and passing the ball. I've been echoing the sophomore surge of Marvin Harrison Jr. The revolution will be televised, and I thought we got a little bit of taste of that on Saturday night in that nice little 15. I think it was like a deep in route or maybe a post, whatever it might have been, but a great connection from Kyler to Mars. So he looks good. Trey McBride looks good. I really like that the Cardinals offense got all their big playmakers involved early and often. We only saw them for a couple of drives, but still very good for what we've seen so far, and I think that's going to be encouraging moving along for the rest of the way.
No, absolutely. And then the second-year players that we got in Isaiah Adams really showing out in training camp and kind of translated here into week one of preseason. Darius Robinson. But, I don't remember the last regime, obviously, with Steve Keim and the rest of them, just, how excited we are, or at least for myself, I can only speak for myself, but excited about watching preseason games because you're not only looking at your first-round or second-round picks, you're looking at your third, fourth, fifth rounds. You're even seeing Denzel Burke out there as well, or even, guys that were in training camp last year and now, this year with preseason and Darren Hall, man, making some crazy plays. I didn't account him for potentially making it 53, but it's kind of hard, especially when you're back-to-back years doing really good in preseason, why the Arizona Cardinals will not do something like that, like bringing in Darren Hall. Do you see him as a potential, maybe a seventh guy, maybe a sixth guy, just kind of really depending on what the Cardinals decide to do as a guy to be brought into the 53-man roster?
Yeah, potentially. I think I was single-handedly driving the Darren Hall hype train last preseason, so I feel a little bit vindicated that he's
There
again
you go.
making plays this time around. And I think more than anything, Jonathan Gannon, especially in that defensive back room, he requires guys to wear a lot of hats. You can't just really, especially as a guy near the bottom of that part, you can't just play cornerback. You can't just play safety. You can't just play only defense. You need to be able to play special teams. You need to be able to do a lot of things. That's exactly what Darren Hall does. So I thought he's had a really good training camp. He's parlaying that into a really good preseason. I do think he's a very good candidate to maybe make the final roster, especially over a guy like Elijah Jones, who just simply got hurt last year. He's kind of fell down the pecking order. And when you're watching training camp and guys like Keetrell Clark and even rookie Denzel Burke, a day 3 guy, are getting reps over you and you're relegated to a third team, I don't think that's exactly a good sign. Now, granted, he did get hurt, so we'll see if he eventually does come back, which actually might be able to save him a roster spot, because if they put him on the PUP list, he'll be gone for at least the first 4 weeks. And they could bring somebody else on the roster to replace him after the final 53 is cut. So maybe he's still on the team after the final 53, really soon, but I think it's a good problem to have for the Cardinals, having a lot of these like young guys competing for those final roster spots in the defensive back room. And to your point, watching a lot of those guys who maybe weren't first round picks, I think that makes it exciting, because we've seen the Cardinals utilize a handful of those late round guys year after year after year. So I think that's even more fun watching this team in the preseason and saying, you know what, maybe this guy can contribute. Maybe he can make an impact, because we've seen it throughout the first 2 years of Gannon's tenure in Arizona.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is an exciting time. I'm excited to see if Jonathan Gannon is going to be playing the starters. And I know he said that he is going to wait till after the joint practice. Do you think it's just because he wants to see what they look like in joint practice versus another team? Do you think that's what he's trying to do?
Yeah, Gannon's a big fan of the joint practice, and I think a lot of NFL head coaches are, because you're able to simulate a lot of like the live game looks against different competition, without having a lot of like the injury risk and a lot of the unknown. It's a controlled chaos, I think, is
Right.
the best way to put it. I think he just wants to see what his guys look like, and if he's satisfied, because we saw this in Indianapolis last year, we saw it in Minnesota 2 years ago under Gannon. He loved the joint practices that I think the Cardinals look like he thinks they will. I don't think he will feel the need to play his starters, because he already got a good look against Denver in a close setting. And for what it's worth, like, that's less film other teams are going to have on their starters in preseason. So
Right.
he's all about keeping things behind closed doors as much as possible, as little as possible information for other teams to get on them. So I think if they do have a good joint practice, I think if he overall likes what the team did on Thursday, and I think it begins at 10 a.m. Arizona time, I think it's 10 to
Nice.
12.
Woo.
Um, should be a lot of good stuff. Shout out my guy Bo Brock will be out there for PHNX, so I'm sure I'll be using a lot of his content and a lot of my articles and stuff. But yeah, bring this back. I do think the joint practice will heavily determine who plays and who doesn't. If it goes how I think it will, I think the Cardinals will look good. I think Gannon will be impressed by the guys that he see. I think he will accomplish what he wants to accomplish, and I don't think we'll see a lot of starters in action come Saturday.
Ooh, okay. Well, we did get some news yesterday. I believe it was yesterday or the day before that the Arizona Cardinals did have some injuries that ended up happening, unfortunately, on Saturday. Uh, Christian Jones, right? Okay. I don't know why I
Yeah,
was.
yep.
Yeah, yeah. He's gonna be missing some
There's like
time.
5 Jones on the team,
Right,
man. You're
that
good.
seriously, I know. So Christian Jones, a late round pick a couple years back, tackle. But a lot of people were really excited about the pick, but he's going to be missing some time per Jonathan Gannon. And then Tristan Jackson, I saw something floating around. Did he go to IR with the?
He did go to
He
IR,
did,
yeah.
huh? Man. Okay, him as well. And then the Arizona Cardinals did make a move yesterday in bringing in another offensive lineman, guy that seems to be with the, I think it was like the Cleveland Browns, the Giants. There was
Mhm.
one other team as well in Roy Mibak. I don't know if you know how to say his name.
They put the pronunciation in the email. I don't
Okay.
remember off the top of my head, but I do remember that he's a 6'8", 300-pound
Yeah.
offensive tackle, and that is
Big
a
dude.
mammoth.
Big dude. Yeah. Big dude. Yeah. That's probably because of the Christian Jones situation, right? Or at least the depth side of it all. Because I mean, he wasn't
So
going to be an
they
option.
they only brought they were only able to bring him on because he was part of the International Players Pathway program.
Mm,
So if you remember, Valentin Sen,
yeah,
he got hurt. He was an offensive tackle. He got hurt. He was part of that program. He's from Austria, so they had to either release him or put him on IR, whatever technical move they did that freed up an international spot. So that's how they brought the new guy on.
gotcha. Cool. All right. Yeah. I mean, excited to see what he's going to be able to do. In terms of roster spot, we'll have to kind of wait and see how that shakes out. But let's go ahead and move on over to actually before we go into week 2 and kind of what you want to see for the Arizona Cardinals. Let's talk about the Kyler Murray situation. I know
Yeah.
it sucks, but like it just seems to be some big debate going out there between whether it was a no look pass or no, or it wasn't a no look pass. Regardless of what it was an interception that even Kyler Murray said that you should have put some more air on it. What is your overall thoughts on that interception? And I pardon, I forgot who asked, but they asked Jonathan Gannon, like, was it necessary, or do you feel like those things are type of necessary in order for a quarterback to kind of what to kind of get better and to like know exactly what he's going to do in the regular season? And I could have sworn Jonathan Gannon says Kyler knows the value of the ball. So I mean, I
Yeah.
interpreted it as like, I mean, that's probably not necessary. But what is your overall thoughts in like that interception from Kyler?
Yeah, I think we live in a world where it's possible to believe that number one, Kyler just made a very, very dumb decision.
Yeah,
And also, it's preseason and we shouldn't be overanalyzing it.
yeah,
I have never seen a preseason interception overanalyzed like I have with that specific throw. If you really want to dig deep into the trenches, it did look like it was like a no look pass because Kyler was looking straight and then like threw it off to the side. Um, Both him and Jonathan Gannon credited the defender. I think Jaden Hicks was his name for the Chiefs, who kind of peeled off of Trey McBride in coverage and just sunk back and didn't really have to do much. Really kind of caught it in the midst
yeah,
for that interception. But I mean, I think why it's not a big deal to me is that it's preseason. Like Kyler has to know what balls he can and can't throw. He said he just didn't get enough on it, and now he knows. And I think one thing I really liked coming away from his press conference was I would rather have this happen now than it happen in New Orleans and it actually like mean something. So
yeah.
does he pull the trigger on that? Does he try to do a no look pass not preseason regular season week 1 in New Orleans? Probably not.
Right.
Probably not. But like he's shaking the rust off. It's part of the game, is what it is. But also on the same time, like that was a dumb decision. Like we are able to look at that and say, hey man, like you probably should not have thrown that football, and that's okay.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like that's sometimes why people like, I don't know, it almost kind of feels like either it's like a Kyler Murray stan or the people that absolutely hate Kyler Murray. They just don't want to be in the middle. They don't want to find themselves somewhere in the middle because you can't, like you said, you could admit that that wasn't a good decision, right? At the end of the day. And he even said he needed to put more air on it, whether it was a no look pass or not. That decision was not a good one. And it's okay to say that because you got to learn from it because those are the games that you should be able to learn from the mistakes because in the regular season, that's where you're going to be kind of, I guess I'm not gonna say crucified, but that's when you're really gonna be under the microscope, right? Because if that
Yeah.
happened in New Orleans and it was a big altering decision that ended up happening between the Saints, because let's be real, like the Cardinals are favored to win that Saints game in week 1. We cannot see those type of things. But I think I kind of see both sides of the coin because I see the guys that are angry and why is this happening again? Because obviously the end of the season and how it shook out with so many interceptions thrown in the regular season in crucial moments that those people are now starting to kind of with the picket, right? The pickets and the
Yep.
forks. But I see the other side of the coin as well, where it's like, hey, it's preseason, right? Like make these mistakes now, clean it up on the regular season. So at the end of the day, I agree with you. I don't think I've ever seen anything as looked under a microscope as this. This is the biggest takeaway. Like, let's be real. Like, everybody's talking about that interception instead of Jordan Burge having a crazy freaking game, or
Yeah.
you know, Amari DeMarcado make most likely going to be your number 3 guy and looked absolutely explosive. Like, it's just it's unfortunate, but that's the reality of football, I guess.
Yeah, one thing with Kyler too is that he's by far the most polarizing guy in Arizona sports, and maybe one of the more polarizing guys at the National Football League too. There's no black and white whenever it comes to like Kyler Murray. It's
Yeah,
either this or it's that. People either
yeah,
love him or hate him. It's actually crazy, but
yeah,
yeah, I think Kyler's interception overshadowed a lot of the good that he did, a lot of the other good storylines around the Cardinals as well. But that's what happens whenever you throw a dumb pick like that, and then like the big national accounts on Twitter start to roll with it, and then everybody gets the Call of Duty jokes going again, and yeah,
yeah.
it's a mess. But the good thing about him is that he has the cards in his hand, man. He can control how he plays this year. It's a very, very big year for him, and he
Yeah.
seems to have a really great defense behind him and a core of weapons he's going to have more continuity with.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's actually, before we go into week two, I have two players to kind of talk into. I kind of want to get your thoughts on it. One on the defensive side of the ball, and then the other one on the offensive side of the ball. Let's talk about the defense first. Jordan Birch, what did your overall thoughts on how he played? Because it didn't show up in the stat sheet, but if you look at the film, this guy was very, I guess, wreaking havoc every chance he can. What are your overall
Yeah,
thoughts on Jordan Birch?
Yeah, that would be the best way to describe it too. And he really didn't get to display a lot of that at Oregon for various reasons. They didn't really deploy him as like a stand up outside linebacker compared to just having his hand in the dirt like he did in college. But he looked strong. He looked very, very good. The Cardinals need people who can get after the passer. They got Josh Sweat, but like the bottom, not the bottom bear was, but the guys also on the depth chart under him who are going to get rotated because defensive coordinator Nick Rallis loves to rotate his guys in their front seven. They're going to be counting on them to reach the quarterback and get after the passer. And if a third round rookie pick is already looking like this, it's so encouraging. Granted, you look at the box score, he virtually didn't do anything. But if you take everything with context, like a sack he had got negated because of a penalty, and then he was forcing numerous pressures
Yeah.
on the Chiefs quarterbacks as well. So it's a blend of power, speed. He's listed at like 280 pounds. Like he's a big dude. He's a very big dude. And Jonathan Ginn's defense requires guys like that to be off of the edge and go affect the quarterback either to sack or pressure, however it is.
Yeah, absolutely. The guy on the offensive side of the ball, Xavier Weaver. We talked about it last time you were jumping on, and you said everybody seems to really love him. And Xavier Weaver kind of really showed out, whether it was the touchdown pass in the end zone or even just getting a PI called and help the Arizona Cardinals offense get closer to the end zone. What are your overall thoughts on Xavier Weaver, and is he going to make the 53?
I mean, he made it 53 last year,
Yeah,
and it kind of seems like there's still a wide open door for him to do it again this year. I'm not sure if he has made like crazy strides year one to year two, but like the little that we did see, he looked impactful, man. Like he caught that slant at the beginning of the 2 minute drew the DPI a little
yeah,
bit later that drive, and then capped it off with a touchdown. And we asked Jonathan Gannon about it a couple of days ago at his press conference, and we asked him what makes him so good, so hard to guard, and he's like speed. You know, if you know a guy is a deep threat, you play him a little bit differently because you know he can run right by you, and that's exactly what Xavier Weaver provides, and that's also exactly what the Arizona Cardinals don't necessarily have at the top of their depth chart. None of their top three guys between Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, or Zay Jones really have that capability to blow past somebody vertically and take the top off of a defense. Xavier Weaver does. Now, granted, there are a lot of other things Weaver does need to refine and work on, but whenever it comes to straight speed, I think we got a perfect kind of splash of that on Saturday.
absolutely. All right, let's move on over to week two. What are some things that you want to see, or what do you want to look out for here in week two versus the Denver Broncos?
Yeah, I just want to see a clean game. There were a lot of mistakes in week one on both sides of the ball, whether it's turnovers, misassignments, whatever it might be. I just want to see a little bit more polished Arizona Cardinals team. Now, are we going to get that based off of the joint practice? Who knows? Because we might see a lot of Clayton Tune on Saturday, and it's not exactly polished football. No shade to him at all, but it's very, very clear Jacoby Brissett is the backup quarterback. And like tailing on him a little bit, I think he looked really, really strong, and I think
Me too.
the Cardinals are extremely happy with him as their quarterback too. And
Yeah.
for whatever reason, if Kyler were to miss time, for whatever reason, I do think they feel comfortable with Jacoby running the offense, and I would have to agree. I mean, he looked very, very strong as a veteran presence in that pocket. In terms of what I want to see in week two, oh man, that's tough. I would like to see Cody Simon get more run with the starters. Not seeing him until the second half kind of sucked because everybody's really excited for him.
Yeah.
I know Akeem Davis Gaither got a lot of run in the first half, same with Owen Papo, but like everybody wants to see the rookie Ohio State linebacker and see how he can kind of match up and mesh up well with maybe some like top tier guys on the Broncos side of the ball. So I'm really looking forward towards that. I want to see the Cardinals interior offensive line really redeem themselves because Jacoby's first drive
Oh
was
yeah.
awful.
He got
Jacoby, they went 3 and out. He got smacked pretty much on all three plays. He was
Yeah.
not a happy camper on the sideline. So I really want to see if they can redeem themselves because the depth along the offensive line is something that hasn't really been talked about. And if a starter goes down on that side, granted, they did get Will Hernandez back, but he's not
Yeah.
healthy quite yet. If a guy goes down and they need to shuffle, they need to play musical chairs for whatever reason, it might not be pretty.
Right.
So, like, can somebody please step up? Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? We'll find out.
Awesome. So you do think that if they show out well, I'm sorry, the Arizona Cardinals show out well in this joint practice, that they could potentially not be playing the starters here this coming Saturday, you think?
Potentially, potentially. Gannon, this is really the first time Gannon has committed to playing his starters in the preseason, even though
True.
in years past he's at least had them like dressed and go through warmups. He's such a big fan of the joint practices for the reasons we've already discussed and talked
Right.
about. It's a controlled environment where you're getting looks against a different team, so they don't know what's coming. But you're not really running the risk of like a full speed game at the same time. So I'm curious to see if he would still be okay rolling his starters out even after seeing a lot of them on Thursday. That being said, if it's a high tempo practice, I can't imagine Gannon playing his starters more than a couple drives, if at all. I would still like to see the starters on Saturday, at least for a drive or two, even with the joint practice coming. But if I had to put money on it, probably right now, I would lean maybe if they do play, it's one or two series. And then maybe for week 3, because there's that week off. There's the last week of
Right.
preseason, there's a week off, and then there's the regular season. I wouldn't be surprised to see them play maybe like the first half of week 3 and then kind of just call it good.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so when it comes down to it, I have a graphic here, basically showing like things that I would like to see here in week 2 of preseason. And like big question up there is, should the starters play? I mean, I do agree with the notion that if they do really well in joint practice and they show up, pretty good versus Denver, like obviously practice is practice, but if they show up well, definitely you can consider potentially not playing them. But I think there's still some benefits to having at least a drive, right? Like
Oh,
I'm
for sure.
actually very surprised that Kyler was out there for a full quarter. Now, of course, that was how the game turned out, right? Because of the fumble from Greg Dortch, it was a quick 7-0 game, and then the interception that ended up happening, and it was two drives essentially. What it was, right? It was like two drives that Kyler Murray ended up having. There was a 3-pointer, and then it was a full quarter. When you blinked your eyes, it was a full quarter. But I would like to see them for at least one series to kind of move down the field, because I think that, with the exception of obviously with that interception, they did pretty solid. We saw a throw to
Yeah.
make McBride. It was a really good out route, or at least kind of a peel out, and it was really good for him. We saw Marvin Harrison Jr. get involved, James Conner. We saw a good dosage of Trey Benson as well. So I saw a lot of people that
Yep.
play fantasy. Oh, don't go too in on James Conner, because Trey Benson's going to take some reps. Which, I don't know. I still do believe that they're going to be using them pretty balanced, and it kind of really depends who's going to be there in the end zone. But I feel like there's a lot of benefits for the Arizona Cardinals to throw them in week 2, but week 3, let them all sit. Let's throw, obviously, tune for the majority of the game. We'll kind of go from there. But I don't know, man. It brought me level of excitement just even for week 1, knowing that Kyler is going to be out there. Marv,
Yeah.
McBride. It gives you like, dang, you get you so pumped up to see Cardinal football again. And I don't know, one drive won't hurt, man. I don't know. I want to see it.
Yeah, one drive wonder. I
Yeah.
love that, man. Yeah, to see, I see everybody in the chat too, kind of pounding the table for the first string to play a couple of drives. I totally get that. I resonate with that. I'm trying to put myself in John Gainon's
Fair.
shoes, and if we're going to Denver, and the main goal is to see what my guys look like against the Denver Broncos, and I see that on Thursday. What more incentive do I need to have to play them again on Saturday?
Fair.
That's my only thing.
Yeah, especially, I mean, obviously, fingers crossed. So you never know, especially with those joint practices. We're still seeing things happen. I think Chop Robinson, edge rusher out of Miami, was carted off. So you're seeing things happen. So I get that side of the coin where you want to be cautious, and if you're going to be at least somewhat of a full go, obviously you're not going to be able to touch the quarterbacks, right? Nick's as well as Murray, but like you're still playing physical football, and anything could happen. So yeah, we'll see. It's at the end of the day, it's going to be Jonathan Gannon's decision in this Arizona Cardinals organization, and I'm going to be fully for it. But number 2, I want to see Jordan Burch dominate again, man. I don't know. I did kind of a breakdown in my own version. I'm not a football guru or anything like that, but just kind of looking back at the All 22 film, there's been a few different plays where he should have got a sack. I know we talked about it a little earlier. I think there was 2 of them specifically, but it was negated by an actual penalty. But there was also a screenplay that was supposed to be developed, but just Jordan Burch is just constantly harassing the quarterback of KC. I would love to see another master class of Jordan Burch dominate again in week 2. I think it'll just get us more pumped up heading into the regular season.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge you want to see from the rookie guys too, especially is yeah, you had a good week in preseason, but how are you going to rebound? How are you going to
Yeah,
respond? How are you going to parlay that into something bigger? And I think that'll be a really good sign, not just on Birch physically, but perhaps even mentally too. If he can really string together two back to back really good preseason performances, and then you're still looking at like who's going to define certain roles and who's going to play these certain spots in Gannon's defense. Jordan Burch is going to be very hard to ignore if he has back-to-back really strong
yep,
games because like Jonathan Gannon is not a box score head coach. Nick Rallis is not a box score head coach. They watched the film literally more than everybody.
right.
And even though he didn't record an official sack, they still see the impact that he had on the game.
Absolutely. Number 3, Will Johnson. He was out there a good majority of the time. He actually spent more time out there than the actual full-time starters out there. So it was cool to see him have a lot of reps out there. What is your overall thoughts on Will Johnson? Like, again, not on the stat sheet, but just overall play. What did you feel about Will Johnson?
Yeah, I thought he was fine.
Yeah,
It was a I don't think the introduction to Will Johnson was what everybody thought it would have been. Kansas City having the ball on like the 3 yard line, and then
true.
that pass interference play, which I think was he could have maybe gotten away with it. It really just
Yeah,
depends on the referee. Um, but it's funny because we talked to Gannon, and Gannon he was. We asked him about Will Johnson and how he responded after that flag, and Gannon said during the game on the headset he was like, "I hope they throw him at him again." I hope they target Will Johnson because he wants to
love
see
it.
how he responded. So
Yeah,
he thought he responded well. Watching back the game, I thought Will Johnson responded well. He looked like a guy who is big, long, can run, can play man in zone. So he didn't have any crazy interceptions. He didn't shut anybody down. It's
right.
preseason, but he did get a little bit different looks. And I think as a cornerback, when you're A, not targeted a whole bunch, or B, not really hearing your name called, it's more of a good thing than a bad thing. And I feel like
True.
that was kind of the case for Johnson's rookie debut.
No, absolutely. And then Will Johnson, I mean, like when I was training camp, like when I was in training camp and kind of watching him with the other cornerbacks, I didn't realize how tall he was amongst the other cornerbacks. Like I know, like when you're doing like these evaluations, you're like, oh, he's 6 something, right? So you kind of spiel out these, measurements, but you don't let it
Mhm.
sit in until you see him stand up against, the other guys that we have in the set. He's actually pretty darn tall, at least clearing a couple inches over the other guys as well. And as young as he is, I'm excited, man. I really am. Now, obviously, the big narrative going into the seat or into draft was, is his knee going to withstand? I mean, we saw a good dosage of him, especially in training camp and preseason. He looks to be pretty darn solid. I don't think he's worried about it. I still do think one of the steals of the draft for Will Johnson. I'm excited to see what he's going to do in week 2 if he plays a good majority of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing with the knee is more of like a long term concern, whether or not he
Okay.
can hold up over the course of like numerous years over the NFL. But I mean, even then, like when you look at why he wasn't able to run at the combine, I think he had like a hamstring injury, and then I think maybe he had like an ankle thing bothering him in OTAs. But he seems healthy. Like
Yeah.
he seems healthy. He seems ready to roll, and I think that's why preseason is so valuable for guys like that, especially at cornerback, which I think besides quarterback is the hardest position to play. Like the more reps the better, and as a corner, like you're gonna have flags thrown on you, you're gonna get beat. That's just kind of the process. So let's get it out now. Let's get the shoes and cleats a little bit dirty. When by the time week one's ready to roll around, you got to go into a crazy New Orleans environment. Like you're going to be a little bit more tasked and ready to go.
Yeah, and then we did hear that one of their offensive linemen is done for the season, which is tough.
Potentially two.
Yeah, potentially.
Potentially too, man. So the starting center roll clap is done, and then I think it was Trevor Penning, one of their potential starting guards. He's projected to miss a couple of weeks. They haven't officially rolled him out for week one, but like it's not looking good in New Orleans right now, man.
Good
Especially
lord.
with me and you playing quarterback for them. Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. No, that's crazy, man. I mean, let's see what happens. I know New Orleans is not expected to have a great, season, but let's hope the Cardinals could take advantage. That's all I could like say. Let's move on over to my next point. Amari DeMarcado, man. I remember last year my big thing that I was talking about was I want to see Michael Carter. I want to see Michael Carter just because the different look of different type of running back he is. But I don't know, man. I've seen Amari DeMarcado last year, and I knew he was going to be our number 3. But kind of talk to me about how you feel about how he felt or he looked here in week 1 of Kansas City because Amari DeMarcado had himself a game.
Amari did have himself a game. There's just something about the end of half long touchdown runs and catches against teams from the Midwest, man, because he had that against the Chicago Bears last regular season. And it feels like anytime you dial up the hell Amari, he answers, he picks up the phone. It's so funny to me. But I think his spot on the 53 is solidified, if we're being very, very honest. And I think that's only because he wears so many hats and plays so many different roles for him. He's a very good pass protection back and third down whenever you need Kyler and shotgun. He's a versatile guy. He can obviously catch the ball. He can be a solid third option behind James Conner and Trey Benson. He's a very good special teams contributor for him. And when you only have 48 players dressing on a game day,
Right.
you need those kind of guys to do a little bit of everything. You need them to earn their jerseys, Jonathan Gannon says. And I think Amari DiMercado definitely does all of those things on top of being a somewhat decent running back too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Solid number 3. I think that's kind of a shoo-in right there. I'm not gonna be crying about Michael Carter anymore, although I really do like him as a player.
I'm a Michael Carter guy. Like
Yeah.
I think in terms of being a running back and running the football, he's I still might have him above Trey Benson. I really might.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
I do. Yeah. That's no shot to Trey Benson, but Carter's a damn good runner of the
He
football, man. But
is.
he's kind of just limited in what he does, and I think that's why they cut him as opposed to Amari DiMercado last year, because Amari does so much more other than just run the football.
Right, 100%. Yeah, no, Amari DiMercado, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, the pass blocking is so important, especially for third downs, and I do think he's probably one of the best that we have on this, running back roster here. So he's definitely gonna make it. And you're right. I mean, it's not that I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna cry. I mean, I like Michael Carter. That's why I was like beating the table on for him last year to kind of make this roster, and I was very shocked. And a lot of Cardinal fans were shocked as well because I feel like he did pretty well last year in the not was it preseason? It was preseason and probably training camp that everybody wanted and kind of go in. But I don't know. I see the value of Amari DiMercado. So if they go with him as a number 3, I ain't gonna be mad this time around. But yeah, I'm still got love for Michael Carter, man. Still got love for
Same.
him. Uh, let's move on over to my last point here. First string. Now, obviously, this is contingent on if the starters play here in week 2. But with Patrick Mahomes, the situation that we found ourselves in when they were thrown into the fire and he was already in the red zone with the fumble of Greg Dortch, um, I want to see, like, obviously, I don't think Josh Sweat's going to be playing into the regular season. I don't think maybe Calais Campbell's probably in the same boat as well. Well, we're probably not going to see them. But were you overall satisfied with the defensive line with the small limited sample size that we've seen, you know, with the defensive line in preseason?
Yeah, I was. I think to ask any defensive line in the National Football League to stop the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes at the 3-yard line on their first drive of the game is a asinine ask. And I
Yeah.
think that's so tough, and very very few teams, and the overall probability of that happening is very very low. But granted, I thought they responded extremely well. They only gave up but 10 points the rest of the way. Now, granted, the
Yeah.
starters didn't play every single snap moving forward, but like to the points we hit on earlier, that room specifically in the defensive line room is so deep and so talented. It's like a platoon swap to where you're seeing guys like Dante Stills not really get like a lot of run because there's so many other people, but Dante Stills has produced time and time again for this Cardinals team. You look at the other guys around him, they're starting on a handful of other NFL teams. So the Cardinals have very, very good and considerable depth, which is awesome because when Walter Nolan comes back, and if Nolan is anything close to what the Cardinals hope he is, games are won and lost in the trenches. Like that'll never change no matter what schematically is different in the National Football League compared to now, 5, 10, 20 years ago. Games are dominated. You can win and lose them at the line of scrimmage.
Right.
With what the Cardinals did over the last few off seasons, specifically this offseason in both free agency and the draft, getting Calais Campbell, Dalvin Tomlinson, Walter Nolan, Darius Robinson last year, Dante Stills a couple years ago, like they are very intentional what they've done. I think they under the Rams, I think they have the best defensive line in the NFC West. And if they play up to their potential, I think the Cardinals defense can be like top 8, top 10 in the National Football
Wow.
League.
Love to
Yeah.
hear. I mean, it's you cannot go into the 2025 season without ignoring what's happening all in the NFC West. I know I have another show that I jump on, the NFC West Roundtable, and we have my Rams guy on there that's not worried about the whole Stafford situation, but like,
Jake?
yeah, Jake Ellenbogen,
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah, yeah.
cool guy. But he's not worried, but he's very optimistic about a lot of things, is what I kind of figure when since we've been doing this. And then like it's just it seems like a big deal. It really does. Now, is he going to be playing week 1? Most likely, right? But like, you take a bad hit and things can kind of go awry for the Rams, but there's that, and then all the losses of what the 49ers are going through. They're signing random people at wide receiver because at one point they had Andy Isabella, they ended up getting him, releasing him, and
Yep.
then this is this whole situation with them, and then the Seattle Seahawks with Sam Darnold. So that's all I got to say about them. But other than that, man, like, the Cardinals have a real good chance here, real good chance to potentially fight within the NFC West here. And on paper, they got it. Let's see exactly what happens here.
And
Let
I
me
do want to say, like, the improved secondary should only help the Cardinals' defensive line too,
right.
because that'll give them a little bit more time to get to the passer, and then vice versa. Like that defensive line should only help the secondary too. So, like, a very good complementary defense, I think, is on the horizon.
Absolutely. It won't be an easy sports fan here, pod or stream without my guy or somebody in the chat here trying to compare you to somebody. Have you been ever compared? Not Palmer this time. It's Wayne Rooney, soccer player.
Yeah, I've never been compared to Wayne Rooney. I don't know if I love that
I
comparison.
don't think
I
so.
think I'd rather have the Carson Palmer one, which I think originated on the show, by the way.
Yeah,
Now that I'm like racking my brain
it
for sure,
did.
appreciate that because I get that everywhere now.
Yeah, that's here's the thing. Like, franchise QB, I appreciate the comment, but don't take Carson Palmer's son away. This is what we got
Yeah.
going for the show right now. That is what we have, and I say all the time, I'm gonna put it overlay one day. Carson Palmer's son. I just keep forgetting to do it. All right, Donnie. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for chopping up and obviously giving us your insight on what you got going on there. I mean, you are, in the Cardinals camp and watching them practice and stuff like that. So I appreciate you one more time for the one more time. Let everybody know where they can find you and, what you do, what your plan is for 2025.
Yeah, you can follow the work at Donnie Jarun on Twitter and then si.com/NFL/Cardinals. Follow us on YouTube at Cardinals on SI. The plan for 2025 is to chew bubblegum and cover the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm all out of bubblegum. So get this thing
Love to
going,
hear
baby.
it. Love to hear it. All right, one real quick 30-second break here from the sponsors of the Easy Sports Fan here on YouTube. Then we're going to say our goodbyes. Shout out to My Valley Sports. Yo, Red Sea, you know how we rep the Cards with pride every Sunday, so why not rep your own squad the same way? Whether it's your business, your team, or your crew, My Valley Prints has you covered with custom screen prints and embroidery right here in the desert. T-shirts, hats, hoodies, you name it. From clean logos to bold game day drip, they'll make your vision look like a first-round pick. Local, reliable, and always bringing that Cardinal level energy. Hit up myvalleyprints@yahoo.com or DM them via Instagram to get your gear started. My Valley Prints, built for the Valley, designed for you. All right, shout out here to My Valley Prince. I know I said My Valley Spurs earlier. My bad. That's my on me. My Valley Prince. Appreciate you for sponsoring Easy Sports Fan here on YouTube. All right, guys, we're going to be saying our goodbyes here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in as always. Have a great rest of your day and go Cardinals.